Hello, everyone. This is another Cybersecurity Magazine podcast, and today I will be interviewing Michael Fasulo, a Senior Director of Portfolio Marketing at Commvault. He specializes in connecting technologies with real customers' needs to ensure Commvault solutions are both relevant and impactful. With over 2 decades of experience in spanning hyperscale cloud security and emerging technologies like post-quantum cryptography, Fasulo helps organizations to navigate the evolving challenge of achieving cyber resilience in a rapidly changing digital world. Welcome, Michael.
So yeah, 20 years. I spent a good amount of time in technical support. I moved over to product, so I did run the product roadmap for cybersecurity, the hyperscalers. So still very entrenched with the hyperscalers, and then I kind of pivoted toward post-quantum cryptography and kind of focused on that. So appreciate you having me today.
Spent over 2 decades in technologies across cloud, cybersecurity, and now emerging areas like post-quantum cryptography. What drew you to cyber resilience as a focus?
Um, I thought it was because it was highly dynamic and very fluid at the time. I like to, when I think about cryptography, especially over the last 2 decades, it was one of those things that really didn't have a highlight. It was something that you kind of turned on, right? We were protecting data at rest and data over the network. So it was just, checkbox and pick your algorithm and, maybe even your key length at some point. So I don't think a lot of people gave it a lot of thought. But as the uh, cyber threats evolved, ransomware to exfiltration to quantum threats, there was this convergence that I thought was going to be super interesting. And it was an evolving space that had a mixture of something that was very technical, like quantum. And when we think about quantum machines and how they've evolved, even over the last couple months, I thought it'd be a really interesting space to get into. So I kind of took the leap, and Commvault provided me the latitude to do that.
When we are talking about Commvault roles in market impact, Commvault is recognized as a leader in data protection and cyber resilience. How does your portfolio marketing strategy ensure that these solutions stay relevant in today's market?
Yeah, so I think me especially very connected with our customers and partners. So uh, about 2 years ago, we were working with a handful of customers in highly sensitive areas that, really needed this next generation set of capabilities, and they focused around quantum, amongst other, cyber threats. So we kind of took the leap, and we had to do some convincing internally because, quantum is spaceships and laser beams, but we got over some of those hurdles and we delivered these capabilities and solutions to our customers. So, um, super important that, we put the right context around quantum threats, because it's not a one size fits all, right? Like there's certain things that you have to really consider so that you could properly right size it, because, these things don't come for free. But at the end of the day, we had a set of customer demographics and verticals that were really interested in having these capabilities. So we met their needs. And, we took a really deep look at how we would anticipate the space would evolve. And this is where, the crypto agility and all the other things kind of come in. So it provided like a perfect opportunity for us to kind of get ahead of, these types of threats as they evolved. And then if you think about just classic threats, I know a lot of people throw around harvest now, decrypt later as kind of this quantum threat, but in reality, that's all housed in, exfiltration. And if you look at any of the headlines for threats that are happening today, exfiltration um, is always that vector that they're mentioning. So I try not to think of harvest now, decrypt later as a quantum threat. I think of exfiltration as a quantum risk.
You see customer demand for quantum safe solutions, or do you see it as a growing demand, or is this still largely an educational effort that you have to evangelize
Yeah,
and educate?
yeah, I think there's certain hotspots, right? Governments, manufacturing, banks, healthcare. I think folks that have long-term sensitive data or data that's going to be sensitive for its entire lifetime are going to be those hotspots. So I think when we think of those particular verticals, we definitely have discussions with those customers more than you would your other generalized verticals, within our customer base. But again, that's why these tools and having good inventory is super important, because again, you want to right size this when we're talking about PQC or cryptography in general. So yeah, I would say certain hotspots, they're going to be there. Long-term sensitive data, government secrets, um, chemistry patents, logistical maps. And then if you think about biometrics, biometrics are going to be sensitive forever, because if you think about how we have biometrics and they're part of our identity, especially when we're securing systems, those things go hand to hand. So if your fingerprint or your ocular scan was released, that's certainly going to be a super sensitive threat that you're going to have, because that data is exposed. So, I try to put those things into that bucket to talk to our customers about, right sizing your security posture around these particular threats. And if you do contain these types of sensitive data, you might want to use something like PQC and constantly evolve your security posture around it. Yeah.
What role do AI and automation play in strengthening resilience strategy, especially to protect those sensitive data?
Yeah, I think AI is a great enabler. Again, I don't think we have any silver bullets across the entire security profile. So, we always talk about PQC and crypto agility as like defense in depth. It's a layer. It's certainly not going to replace all the other things that you have to do. And I see AI as another layer in there. And we could probably talk all day about, AI threats, but if we focus on AI as an enabler, using it to kind of filter through a lot of the noise so that you can get a really good high fidelity set of signals on, what your cryptographic posture is, what your sensitive data posture is, where your data silos may be that you don't know, if there's shadow IT or even shadow AI happening. That information is super important. And what we're starting to engage with customers on are conversations around when you have sensitive data that may not have been classified. When that gets vectorized into a vector database for AI, it loses that security profile as that data transforms. So there's these evolving things that we have to take into consideration, but AI as an enabler, I would say, greatly expedites our ability to do our cryptographic inventories, our sensitive data inventories, understand where we may have pockets of shadow IT, and be able to harness that so we can apply the appropriate amount of cryptographic posture to the environment to keep everything safe.
How does Commvault position itself to be future ready as technologies like those you mentioned, quantum computing, as quantum computing start to affect cybersecurity?
Yeah, I would like to say, we continually maintain our leadership there. We were the first ones to provide PQC within the product, and it has all the traditional algorithms: MLKM, DSA, Sphinx, Falcon, and we even have HQC. So we take this quantum threat very seriously, and we understand that the landscape is going to continue to evolve. If you look at any of the big quantum companies, you can see that they're flush with cash. There's lots of investment. They're getting some good airtime. NVIDIA, GTC had, 20 some odd, quantum leaders kind of talking about these things. So you're seeing a massive amount of velocity. And for us, we want to make sure that our customers' data is safe and resilient. So we've taken steps to continually have a pulse on the industry, and we've deployed these capabilities for our customers to have today. And we apply them, free of charge, because they're part of our platform promise. So we don't even want to have our customers incur additional costs if they need to protect their data to this particular state. So we constantly engage with them and, deliver these capabilities and products to them to keep them resilient.
How do you measure success in your role? Is it adoption, customer satisfaction, or something else?
Yeah, it's probably all the above. And I mean, me personally, I just presented at Gartner SRM, and it was all around PQC.
Okay.
And I can tell you there was a significant amount of Q&A after the fact. And, we talked about PQC, we talked about cryptographic chaos. We talked about some of the challenges with trying to get funding for PQC and quantum threats, because a lot of the money is being diverted to AI. There's obviously a literacy issue with quantum in general and cryptography, because like I said in the beginning of the chat, like, this was something that you kind of turned on, you didn't pay much attention to it. So there's a lot of these other challenges besides the threat itself. And then there's infrastructure, there's legacy machines. So, I think all of that kind of provides that combination of things that you have to unfold. So getting back to the talk, there was a lot of post conversation, and then throughout the event, there was a lot of people like seeking me out to go talk about these things and how they can unjam these problems. And it was in your neck of the woods, which was kind of nice. So I got to talk about Anissa a little bit, NIS2. We talked about how some of these things evolved, how the standards are evolving in Europe. So that kind of helps me understand better, how my global customers and partners are going to be looking at this, because as you said before, you have all these different pockets of regulation, Australia, Singapore, China's doing their own thing. So you have all these other complexities that come in. So when we talk about like quantum threats, I try to let everyone know, like, this is a really deep topic, and it's like, where do you want to go? Because there's so many different facets. For me, it's like super interesting that you got to really keep your finger on the pulse on, how things are evolving, but there's executive orders, there's changes being made, there's language about crypto agility. So, you kind of have all these things kind of working in concert. So to me, it provides a really awesome place for me to be in, and for Commvault to be in, kind of being the leader there. But it also allows us to be, really good advocates for our customers. And I always talk about, our customers challenging not only us, but also everyone else, vendors in their environment, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And, cyber resiliency is really a team sport.
View. What industries do you see as leading the way in adopting advanced resilience strategies, and which ones are lagging?
Yeah, I would say, government and banking are probably leading the way.
Okay.
I think there's high risk in those two particular areas where they possess long-term sensitive data, where there's, irreputable brand damage, there's trade secrets and things that just simply can't get out. So there's a lot of risk there. And I think that's why you're starting to see this absolute explosion in regulations and executive orders and other things that are happening to say, we have to do this, and we have to do this now, because I think people are finally maturing their understanding of quantum threats and cyber threats in general. And there's just no room. There's no room for error.
Great, especially in the world that nowadays movies like Leave the World Behind and Day Zero are coming up. So a
Yeah.
lot of people are getting more informed what to expect in terms of threats,
No,
right?
yeah, no doubt. I think those things start to reveal kind of the art of possible. Like, is this something that could actually happen? And when you think about it, it's like, yeah, there may be a degree of truth in there that we should actually worry about. So, generalized encryption, asymmetric encryption particularly is securing a lot of stuff that goes on, from systems to network pipelines to Bitcoin. So, I think the blast radius is pretty far. And again, if you put it back into the bucket of, what's long-term sensitive data, you can start to see that, quantum threats are a today problem for many of those organizations in those verticals.
Now, what differentiates Commvault's approach from competitors, especially now in a crowded cybersecurity and data management space?
Yeah, so beyond quantum threats, obviously we have an entire portfolio of capabilities and products that allow you to secure your environment from all the way left of bang to all the way to the recovery aspect, which I think is a very unique capability of our product. So we deliver a clean, fast cyber resiliency, and we allow folks to constantly do testing, and we make sure that the data is always recoverable. So I think from a generalized like data management resiliency standpoint, we provide those capabilities. We have a lot of experts that certainly went down this quantum path, and the tooling that existed in the product was augmented to make sure that folks that are concerned about quantum threats can actually, go through some recommendations and actually quickly improve their security posture against quantum threats. So things like finding sensitive data. So we talked about the long-term sensitive data. We have, specific tooling with our product risk analysis that allows you to scan the entire infrastructure for primary and secondary sensitive data that lives in structured or unstructured data. So again, that wide sweeping is super important to find shadow IT and, maybe sensitive data that's living in somewhere else at de-risk. We have lots of policies to kind of drive what I was talking about before when we want to right size PQC and your security posture. So it's not like just turn on every control and then you're realizing that your cloud cost goes up and your CPUs are running at 100% and you have all these bottlenecks. So right sizing is super important, and we have policies and things that kind of drive that. PQC being baked into the product there for free. Again, remove some of that friction from that. Something that you don't have to buy. We had some acquisitions with Satori that allows us to do even further, deep inspection into AI systems. And then finally, I always recommend that people constantly engage us because, again, this space is rapidly evolving. So, we try to make ourselves very accessible. I tell everyone, you could hit me up on LinkedIn, find me on the forums, find me at events. Always happy to kind of help and kind of talk about these particular aspects because, I'm highly passionate, if you couldn't tell, about these things. But, generalized cyber resiliency, it's really important. And as I said before, like, it's a team sport. So it's not just like Commvault. We have deep integrations, bi-directional integrations with our security partners, the hyperscalers, many of the industry leaders, Cisco, Palo Alto, Microsoft, Darktrace, CrowdStrike. We have all deep integrations with them so that, as customers are looking to improve their cyber resiliency, it's not just us securing the environment and sharing signals. We have sharing signals across all of those particular vendors, and then even more to make sure that, we have that really wide view of the entire estate, and we can provide you, the resiliency and what we do best across that. So we protect you all the way on the left side of Bang, through Bang, and all the way to the right side of Bang. And then if you're concerned about future threats, that's all the PQC and crypto agility stuff we talked about today.
What excites you most about the future of cybersecurity resilience?
Yeah, so I would say if I think about the old, like, virtualization revolution, old school VMware came out, it really changed the game from, physical servers and tin to, running virtual machines. And then that entire, arm of IT kind of took off. I look at cyber resiliency being the same way. I mean, it had its humble beginnings with like ransomware and threats. But again, I see this evolution of exfiltration and AI, threats, further being exposed and accelerating. So, we're in a highly dynamic time. And with that dynamic time, there's a lot of uncertainty. And for that uncertainty, Commvault allows us to, constantly be up to speed on these types of things so that we can protect our customers' data. And we understand that these things are evolving. And I think quantum threats are a really good example of this velocity and uncertainty that allows us to solve these really hard challenges. And those challenges range from just generalized knowledge to, actually features, functions, and capabilities. So, I think that wide sweeping look of how we address these concerns for our customers and partners is super fun and interesting, at least for me, because I get to reinvent myself every couple of years, which is awesome. I think the really good starting point is always with people. It's really important that people become the lifeblood of cyber resiliency in general, and especially quantum threats, because you have cryptography, very difficult, lots of math. You got quantum, not something that people understand, against general compute. So you kind of have this mixture of complexity that, we like to talk about. So sessions like this that we're having this chat today, there's plenty of blogs and content that I've released, under my name, via Commvault. But again, engage with us on LinkedIn. We have a user forum. Feel free to find us on the user forums. We're going to be at the reInvents and the Ignites of the world, the Gartner events we always participate in. So find us there, challenge us, speak with us, ask us how we could help. And, we're more than happy. So find me on LinkedIn. Happy to extend the conversations. And, hopefully this won't be the last time that we have a chat.
No, definitely not. And again, thank you so much in the name of Cybersecurity Magazine. And we speak soon. And I wish you a great day. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.